All right, we are off and running once again. Another episode of the New York Giants Squad Show. My name is Jay Berman. The Giants attempt to do something this week they haven't done in a really long time. We'll tell you what it is coming up next.
I'm Patricia, trainer of Locked On Giants. And the Giants, can they rebound from last week's heartbreaking loss to the Denver Broncos?
I'm Mark Collins, two-time Super Bowl champion, and the Giants, I can't believe that season continues.
Let's go, Big Blue. It's the New York Giants squad. Everything New York Giants every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the G-Men. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. The Giants Squad Show starts now.
All right, we are back alongside Mark and Patricia. I am Jay. It's the New York Giants Squad Show. Amazingly, we're on to week 8 already. And despite the fact that we're on to week 8 and we have to look forward, of course, we have to lick our wounds, pick up the pieces from last week. We'll do exactly that. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. As we said, Patricia in the leadoff spot, they lost leads of 19-0 and 26-8. How on earth do we recover?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. Seriously. I mean, if you think about it, the number of points the Giants gave up in the fourth quarter and the number of net yards that the Broncos were able to get, go back and look at some of the stats from past Giant games under this regime. That's about what they would get in an entire game. So I'm still trying to figure out what exactly happened. Was it execution? Was it play calling? Was it just the gods just weren't happy with the Giants for some reason that day? But yeah, this is something they got to put behind them. Maybe parlay that anger, that disappointment that we saw coming out of the locker room toward and take it out on the Eagles, who, by the way, have had their number for the last decade plus when they go to Philadelphia. So yeah, the Giants definitely have to rebound from that.
Mark, obviously a very difficult spot. We'll get to the Eagles and we'll get to the bounce back. But just looking back real quick, how do you enter this week knowing that just happened?
You know what? Honest, guys, I played 13 years. And you include playoffs, that's about 200-some games. I've been a part of games where you lost at the last minute, last second touchdowns, whatever. I've never lost a game the way the Giants lost a game like that. Over 13 years now. Now, Jay, to answer your question, I have no flipping idea how to get over that. I could get over, last second touchdowns. That stuff happens. That's part of the league. But to lose a game like that, in that fashion, that form, I don't know what to say, how to say it, how to wrap my mind around it. The best thing I have is you got to do something. And as I said a couple of days ago to some friends of mine, I don't know how they're going to lose next. If they lose next, what's the biggest thing going to happen next? We've seen it all in 7 weeks. I mean, we've seen so much up and down, in and outs. I don't know. So they have no choice but to bounce back. How they do it, I have no flipping idea.
It's funny, Patricia, because you're obviously around them, the players, quite a bit. So or you can at least take the temperature of the locker room after something like that. But that being said, this is where, and it's cheesy, but this is where you rely on your leaders to sort of, get you out of this, if you will, Patricia.
Yeah, but the problem is the leaders have experienced all kinds of losses. So after a while, what you have to guard against is you can't let that mindset settle in to where you're like, well, it happens. We'll just, you gotta be forward thinking and say, look, let's flush this. It's the old cornerback mentality. Flush it and move on. We got a good challenge in front of us. We beat these Eagles once before, not just recently, as a matter of fact. They're not as good as they were last year. Let's put all our efforts into that. And that's what I'm talking about by parlaying that emotion. And that's, I think, a message that the leaders have to stress to these younger kids.
Yeah, Mark, it's funny. I was going to ask you if you've ever experienced anything like that in your professional career, and you answered the question. No, you haven't. So, we're trying to figure out how they forge forward. You've obviously had bad losses in the past, nothing like that. But again, relying on the leaders, as cheesy as it sounds, that's important in that locker room.
Well, of course it is. And if there's I would guess, a bright spot in this loss, is it came in week 7. So you have a lot of season left. If it was like week, I don't know, 12, 13, you'll see guys tapping out. But the Giants still have a slight shot of doing turn the season around. So yeah, they got it. They got to turn it around. Leadership does matter, but those leaders, they have to really believe what they're putting out. I've seen things on social media. Burns walking to the locker room and spouting stuff out. A lot of people caught that, heard the soundbite, and he had to come back on social media to retract what he said. That's not what he meant. Cool. But I'm sure, though it was a snippet on social media, there may have been some truths in what he really, really meant. So he has to work that out through the locker room as well. But anyway, the leaders on that team, they got to figure it out. It's week 8. You still got a shot of salvaging the season and doing some good things.
In that respect, when you talk about the leaders, and obviously we spent a couple of minutes on it now, the quarterback almost by default is a leader, especially when the offense is on the field. But as we know, Patricia, the quarterback is a rookie. So it's almost like it's opposite there. We want the leader to lead us, but he's a rookie. He's never done it before.
Well, first off, I just wanted to add something to what Mark said. They need Harry Carson to go in there and start throwing trash cans around. That got everybody's attention back in the day. But no, I mean, regarding Jackson Dart, at this point, all right, we all know he's a rookie. It's what's listed next to his name on the NFLPA roster. But at what point do you say, okay, you're halfway through your first season, you've been around now for even before that. At what point do you kind of put that aside and say, hey, this guy has been entrusted to lead us. We can't hold it against him that he's a rookie. It's not his fault that he's a rookie. What he does, I think, is more telling. If he sits there and he's passive and quiet and doesn't say anything, then, okay, I could see, why should we trust this kid? But he hasn't been that way. He's been very vocal. He's been very confident. He spoke a couple weeks ago about how they should have won the New Orleans Saints game. He spoke about yesterday about how, hey, bring it on, Philly, because he was told about the rough environment there. So that doesn't sound to me like a timid rookie. And I think a lot of times he makes you forget that he's a rookie.
I think also, Mark, when you can sort of sometimes, or most of the time, lead with your play. So if the Giants get off to a good start, especially on offense, well, hey, there you go. Then now we can follow the leader, if you will.
Well, that's how it goes. You lead by example, not by your mouth, rah-rah and stuff. And he's been doing just that, leading by example. As far as starting fast, we talked about this the whole stretch of the season. If the Giants are going to be successful, do you take the ball? Do you give it up? Whatever. This team has lost by taking the ball, scoring early, doing everything we talked about. And I'm going, okay, this team has tried everything that we discussed over the course of the season. And I've come to the conclusion, it's not about the start. These guys have trouble finishing. If you can't finish, who gives a damn how you start? And they've been starting, they've started well for the most part and been finishing awful. That's the part we got to fix. Yes, Jackson is a leader, rookie or not. His play dictates that. So he's a leader. He's got to continue to do what he's been doing since he got into the lineup, leading by example, and I expect him to continue to do that.
It's an excellent point, and Patricia, will take it to you. the beginnings of the game, the first couple of drives, with a few exceptions, have not been the problem for Jackson Dart. He's been able to get off to good starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously you do want to, set the tone for a game. Let's not, diminish that. But as Mark said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the Giants, for whatever reason, you go back and you look at the losses this year, with maybe the Saints exception, because that game was just an anomaly. They haven't been able to finish. Now, whether it's because, somewhere along the line they say, oh, okay, we got enough points, so we're going to take our foot off the gas pedal. No, you can't do that. Keep your foot on the jugular and don't stop until the game is over, and I just don't understand it. Just, to me, I almost see like a shift in philosophy, whether it's on offense or defense or what they're doing. And it just, I think that contributes to why they can't finish.
In addition to obviously having a rookie quarterback, we've got ourselves a big time, literally big, rookie running back as well. So they are the two quote unquote leaders on the offense, especially with no Malik Neighbors. But Mark, my point is, can you rely on those, I guess, rookies, for lack of a better term, to lead the way?
Yes. If you're starting, you're a rookie only by roster. You're a contributor. Those two guys are definitely the main two contributors in offense, no doubt about it. But yeah, you're expected to perform and lead by example and by how you carry yourself, not just on the field, but off the field, how you handle the media. So far, these guys have been doing a great job. So that rookie stuff, yeah, you're a rookie when you go to camp, but if you're starting, you're producing, you're performing at a high level, matching the level that the guys who were there before you, and in some points exceeding that level and expectation. Oh yeah, dude, you're the guy. You're the main people on that team.
All right. So those two aside, obviously they're penciled in, and they'll certainly make their impacts felt. Ray McLeod aside, Patricia, we need a receiver somewhere, and I'm not sure it's going to be him this week, but a receiver is needed for sure.
I would say, to be honest with you, Jay, I would get another cornerback in here. That's where I'm most concerned. I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure what Ray McLeod, no disrespect to him, but what's he going to bring that maybe Amir Smith-Marset and the other guys that are on the practice squad that they signed that have been here, that they can't bring? I'm really not sure what the answer is. I mean, I got to be honest with you. Cornerback is a bigger concern for me. Paulson Adebo is probably not going to play. Deonte Banks, for whatever the reason, his confidence is shot. You could see it. I mean, what are they going to do if Adebo doesn't play? They're going to have to go back to a rotation. Who do they have that they can say, okay, you know what? We're not going to miss too much of a beat with Adebo out there. But to your question about receiver, yeah, it would be nice, but I just think given how the season has gone, that need is kind of diminished just a little bit. I think the bigger need, like I said, right now is on the defensive side of the ball. And
to be fair, they put up almost 70 points in 2 games without Neighbors. Mm-hmm. So it just goes to show you never really know. But again, the tight ends have looked good, Mark, and they have been a pleasant addition, I guess, if you will, between Theo and Bellinger. But again, not having Neighbors there, it hurts. It really stings, especially for the development of Jackson Dart.
Oh, definitely. It hurts a lot. But on the other hand, the tight ends are getting great work. They're very productive. They'll be even better if the Giants had an outside threat. So Neighbors isn't there. And so far, no one else is stepping up. And they've still been scoring, close to 30, sometimes over 30 points. So it's working out. I don't know what Ray brings to the table, except this. They're going to move up one of the guys from the practice squad up, and Ray comes in to practice as, it's a bad term, as practice fodder, just to get him up to speed, maybe, I don't know, to get the other guys ready to jump in and play. But that's about it. You always need numbers on both sides of the ball, especially, and I agree, Patricia, at the cornerback position, you don't know what's going to happen with the Debo. I don't know. But you can't go wrong with either. I just think on the offensive side, to bring Ray in right now, and he really adds nothing to production of Jackson Dart, It's just a move. It's just a guy to be on the practice squad to run scout team.
It's a guy who, by the way, was, I think, drafted or signed in Buffalo. So there was a familiarity there. There's your connection.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that is very true. All right, we'll take our first break. We got to do Shane Bowen in the defense because we've all been salivating to jump on him. We'll do that next. All right, we'll start with Prize Picks. The episode that you are currently watching is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking projections like Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards or Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, we are back, and as promised, let's take a deep dive on the defense specifically, and we'll start at the top with Shane Bowen. Obviously, he's still there. Mark, we asked you after the game, immediately after the game, if you thought Monday morning Shane Bowen would be employed, and you said absolutely, and you were absolutely right. Your thoughts now, several days later?
Well, still, I strongly still believe that because, there's a lot of blame to go around, no doubt about it. We all agree on that. But the defense played lights out for 3 quarters in 14 minutes or something like that. It was lights out. That last drive that the Giants had before the interception, to me, that turned the game because all the Giants had to do was run the ball, try to force Denver to use their timeouts. No, he throws the pick. Long story short, I don't want to bore anybody with it, but you can't have consecutive 3-and-outs, turning the ball over, and expect your defense to go out there fresh in that altitude. It's not going to happen. Yeah, were they gassed? Yeah, they've been on the field a long time. Ran a lot of plays, the altitude, everything else. So to fire him or ask for his head on a platter, I think it's a bit premature. As I said before, there's a lot of blame to go around to everybody, to Kafka, to the kicker, yes, to Shane Bowen as well, and to the players. But yeah, I would say he keeps his job, and you don't lose your job, in my opinion, on some mitigating factors that led up to the defense collapse in the last 5-6 minutes of the game. I even chimed in on Carl Banks's X comment he put out there, and being a defensive guy, and it's going to be semi-contradictory to what I said, but I always back it up. I said, if we were there, our 86 or 90 defense, we would have tapped that S down. Then I said, well, but if we're out there, if we're gassed and the offense kept giving the ball away, things may have been a little different, but overall, we probably would have stopped them.
Anxious to get your thoughts on Bowen, Patricia.
The big question I have about those last few minutes, that play in which Bo Nix, I think it was an 18-yard run. Why was Dexter Lawrence on the sideline? Why was Abdul Carter on the sideline? Okay, I can understand dropping 8 into coverage. I didn't have a problem necessarily with that. I understand the scenario and whatnot. The personnel is what I didn't understand. You have Roy Robertson Harris as one of your 3 rushers, a guy who is not known as a pass rusher. Meanwhile, 2 of your best pass rushers are on the sideline. That's what I can't wrap my head around. Now, Bowen, interestingly, was asked about that today, and he didn't answer it. He just said, I have to be better. Well, duh, yeah, obviously. But as far as the job he's done, there's been some head scratchers. Was it enough for him to lose his job? That particular one, I'm going to say no. But look at the overall work. Is the defense getting better? He's got a lot of talent on that unit. Is he getting the most out of that unit? You can't tell me it's all on the execution. Are guys necessarily being put in the best position to optimize their strengths? That's where I would have a question regarding Bowen and whether or not he's a fit moving forward.
All right. We also have, go ahead, Mark.
Here's when your best players are out on a crucial drive. That bothers me. And I go back to the days when I played. I know I keep doing this, but damn it, that's why I'm here. When we need you, don't take your ass on the sideline. I get sick and tired of defensive linemen, some linebackers always tapping out to go out and get a break. The best conditioned athletes on that field are the corners. We run every damn play. We can't tap out. We don't get subbed out. Everybody gets subbed out except the DB at the corners. But at that particular point, I agree with you, Patricia, that play bothered me as well. Your best players should not tap out to be out. And even if they did, if I'm the coach, no, get your ass back in there. We need you. I don't give a damn how tired you are. Get in there. And these guys, and I've seen it throughout the whole league, they'll tap out at the time when they're mostly needed. I don't understand it. Is that the new league? Is that the new players? I don't know. But at that particular time, those guys should have been there at least try to stop the play. It gives the Giants the best opportunity to stop that long run.
All right. Obviously, we have injuries specifically on defense. Burns, Adebo, Holland, none of them practiced today. And Patricia alluded to it earlier. This is not going to be easy, considering, especially in the secondary, considering how banged up they are.
Yeah, I mean, I've been concerned about the cornerback depth since the start of the season. I mean, They have the numbers, but do they have the quality? Adebo is a big loss, and it looks like, if I had to sit here and put money down, I would say Adebo is probably not going to play this week, and I don't know if he'll be ready the following week. I think his injury is the most significant out of the three, Burns, Holland, and Adebo. So that means, okay, what do they do? Do they go back to a rotation? Well, you know what? I did a breakdown of Deonte Banks's play, and to me, I watch him, and Mark, I know you probably saw it as well, so tell me if I'm wrong. I thought, for whatever the reason, that Banks looked passive. He wasn't fighting off blocks. The confidence wasn't there. And, it's like with one of my biggest gripes with Banks is, yes, he's got the talent, but the minute something goes wrong, the confidence goes right out the door. Now, I don't know if it's because, he's not confident enough in himself to play zone coverage, which he's being asked to do a lot of. Is it because, he expects to make the play and he just beats himself up? I don't know what is factoring into that, but I am concerned about that injury. With respect to Holland, that's a big injury, but I thought Dane Belton played very well in his place. Burns, I'm not worried about. Burns has said he's going to go out there and play, and proof was in the pudding. He was out there, gutting it out even after the game when he was in a boot. So I think he'll play.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, as far as Banks, and I said this before, when you play corner, especially the left corner, it's like playing third base, predominant. About 99%, 98% quarterbacks are right-handed, and they're looking right at you. That's the strong side. You got to have an attitude that, hey, bring it. And that attitude some people think it's braggadocious. I just call it confident, very confident. They tried him there, and he couldn't hold up. He got beat. He has a good place to be, but he was really not owning the position. Then they put him in right corner, and he's bounced around. And he never established his dominance at owning that position. So we know football. We all know football. If you could think of some of the greatest teams in NFL history, and you can name their left corner. You can name them because the confidence and the braggadocious that we had playing that side, that's what you have to do. He does not have it. And once you lose that confidence and braggadociousness about yourself, you lose confidence. And when you lose that confidence, your teammates see that you lost it. The fans see that you lost it. Media people see that you lost it. Sometimes your wife, your girlfriend may see that you lost it. So that's where he's at. And I don't know how to fix it. Well, I do, but we don't have time for it. But that's something he's going to have the intestinal fortitude to get it. Can you get it mid-season? I don't know. But he's got to reach down deep inside and pull himself out and just say, man, listen, I got to do this. I got people counting on me. I got my reputation on the line. I gotta do this. I gotta do better. And until we see that, he's going to be just so-so corner.
All right, let's do the kicking situation. Unfortunately, we have to. It looks like it's going to be Graham Gano. I don't exactly have tons of confidence in him kicking anything at this point in time. But Patricia, again, part of the disaster last week, I guess when you can put in Graham Gano and realize that that's better than what you had, I mean, I guess that tells you everything.
I'm nervous about this kicker situation. I really am. I'm not going to lie. First off, Jude McEntee supposedly competed with Young-Ho Koo. How bad was Koo that he couldn't beat out McEntee, a kid who lost the kicking job at Rutgers?
Right.
Okay. That was red flare number one for me. Now you bring, McEntee up. In that Broncos game, how many times were they within field goal distance? And I'm talking a long distance field goal, in an era where kickers are making 60+ yard field goals. And how many times did the Giants say, you know what, we'll punt instead? That bothered me. The missed extra points, obviously that was a big thing. All right. So now Gano is on track to be back. And I think he will be back. But remember, how did he get injured this last time? He did it in pregame warmups. I don't know about you, but if I'm the Giants, I'm seriously thinking about having a second kicker on hand just in case, because that's just how things have gone with this team. And, I'm not a superstitious person, but whenever they go to Philly, something funky always happens. Wouldn't it be a kick in the butt? No pun intended. If they go in with just Graham Gano and heaven forbid something happens and now, we got to go with Jamie Gillen to be the kicker.
Go for it, Mark.
Well, listen, they should address this stuff week one preseason, but we already talked about that. And it's bad when this is your option. This is your last option. Gano. Who are you going to bring in? Who's out there worth bringing in to kick? I don't follow kickers. Not that I don't like them. I just don't follow them. But who's out there worth a damn to bring in? I mean, I don't see any other way. I mean, I don't even know any flipping kickers to bring in. I mean, who are you going to bring in? You might call him, who's the older kicker? Raul Allegre, we call him Raul. Bring him back. Matt Barr. I don't know, but it's an issue. It's been showing its ugly head throughout the whole season. So what's new?
Absolutely right. You're totally right. All right, we're going to focus in on the Eagles next after a quick break.
Game time.
All right, let's tell you about Game Time. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time in just a couple of taps. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, as we said, the Eagles twice in 3 weeks. That first game, Mark, feels like forever ago. Again, twice in 3 weeks is not easy with the Denver Bronco disaster sandwiched in between. Again, twice in 3 weeks, it's weird.
It's very weird. But the best thing about it is you face them already. You know them. They know you. You beat them earlier. You can do it again. So that's the good part. The bad part is they're still the Super Bowl champion. So they're going to come out everything to revenge that loss. That's the way the schedule worked out. That's the way it is. And the Giants got to rise to the occasion.
Patricia, you referenced how bad it's been against Philly and in Philly forever now. We need things to change.
Absolutely. The last time the Giants swept the Eagles, 2007.
Oh,
Super Bowl year, okay? We're talking ages ago. The last time the Giants won in Philly, 2013. So, yeah, it's been pretty bad. And, even though the two teams just met a couple weeks ago, there's some changes on both sides as a result of injuries. Brandon Graham is back to help an Eagles pass rush that has not been very good converting pressures into sacks. Saquon Barkley is still Saquon Barkley, despite the fact that he's off to a very sluggish start. So, yeah, there's a lot at stake here. And the Eagles, they had that big game last week against the Vikings where they were able to win it on the passing game. And I mentioned before, the questions about the Giants' defensive secondary because the injuries. Now, do you see why I'm a little concerned about this game?
Yeah, Mark, we talked about a couple of weeks ago about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith wanting more. Well, They got it. 300 yards combined, or more than 300 yards combined between them last week. So it seems like the Eagles have made a concerted effort to get those two back in the game. And as Patricia said, with a banged up Giants secondary, this could be messy.
Yeah, it could be very ugly quickly too.
Yeah.
What do you do? You got to play the players you have. That's the best you got. I mean, you'll try to mix it up with some zone on and under 2-man kind of stuff. Yeah, but the Eagles are they look very good against Minnesota, by the way. And you're talking about a team that was probably a loss or two away from a mutiny. They were bickering back and forth with each other, and so Giants got to play well. I mean, I think they can do it again. I really do, regardless of what everybody thinks. They got a shot.
We talk a lot about, and in life as well, when things are going great, it's easy to be a cool guy or a cool dude. But when things are going poorly, much more difficult to be a leader and to carry through. So obviously the question, Patricia, is, do they have what it takes to bounce back?
I think they do. This is a talented team, and I think, that their record should be a lot better. Their rankings in the league should be a lot better in all the macro categories. The problem has been the Giants. The Giants have been their biggest issue, their biggest problem with the self-inflicted wounds, with the, like I said, in some cases, guys lacking confidence or losing confidence. It's not all on the players. The coaches have to take a hand in this as well. Some of the questions regarding play calling and situational awareness and all that stuff. But I think this team is better than what it has shown. The problem is we don't know from week to week, what are we going to get with this Giant team? Are we going to get the team that rolled over the Eagles? Or are we going to get the bumbling, stumbling idiots that played against the Saints?
Yeah, great point. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the issue. And everybody knows that the Giants are not a piece of crap team. They got weapons. They got. It's a whole different team than they were last 2 years or even last year. They have playmakers who can make plays. Got a quarterback who can make plays. Got a running back they have a lot of tangibles that can win games, and their record really doesn't show that. So, what team are we going to see? That's the problem. There's no consistency. We don't know what we're going to see. And I would venture to say they don't even know what team they're going to put out there. And that's the worst. When you don't know what team's going to show up, because we've seen them start fast a couple of times, and then they go in the tank. So how do you fix it? Something internally is not happening right for them. And I don't know what it is. Coaching, travel schedule, breaks. I have no flipping idea, but something's got to change to fix that back end and make things more consistent.
As we said, 12 years, October 27, 2013, the last win in Philly. I'm curious, Patricia, having spent so much time with these players, do present day players care about a streak that was, way before they ever got there? Now, a dozen years, do present day players care about that stuff?
I don't know if care is the right word. I think, are they aware is probably the better word. Like, I've spoken to Giant players just in terms about history, and I brought up, great Giants of the past. And I say, oh, did you know about so-and-so? And they're like, who? And I'm like, well, what do you say, who? This is a player who was really good at your position. What do you mean? His name's right there in the ring around the locker room, that ring of honor that they have. So, players will tell you that what happened last week or yesterday or last year doesn't matter. And to a degree, I understand why they would say that. But at the same time, I believe you can learn from mistakes of the past. It's interesting how, Bill Belichick, remember how he used to say, we're on to Cincinnati. Okay, great. But you have to take away lessons, correct things that caused you maybe not to perform at the level you wanted to, and build on that and work to smooth that out. And I think that's maybe where that attitude of, who cares about what happened last week or 13 years ago, I think maybe that's where that might fall a little short.
I agree with some of the younger players feeling that way to a point because it happened before them. And I'll use my years with the Giants, first years with the Giants. Our history was taught. Hey, these guys back in the 40s, 50s, they were dominant. That was always in our face. And those older guys came around. And we embraced them. I know I did. A lot of other guys too. But with that being said, there comes a sense of pride, which you see my Giant shirt on. When you put that Giant helmet on in a uniform, there's a sense of pride in there. It's not putting on the Carolina Panthers uniform or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Seattle Seahawks uniform. Yeah, you're a New York Giant. There's history there. There is significant history with the Giant organization. I think those players need to know that more than the players who came before them. That history means something. They knew that. I think that would sit better with them than knowing the over 5,000 plus players who came through New York with the Giants. I don't think that's being taught enough, but that's me. But I still bleed blue. So if they knew that, the past history of the team and then marry that with the players who wore that uniform and had great success in that uniform and play at the position you're playing, I think they'll focus a little bit more, and maybe, just maybe, they'll take that out when they play.
All right, Patricia, you mentioned the last time the Giants swept the Eagles was 2007, which of course turned out to be a Super Bowl year. I don't think at this point in time we're expecting a Super Bowl, but man, would I love to see an Eagles sweep.
I would too. I think a lot of Giant fans would. I mean, it's been so long, but bottom line is, you can't rest on your laurels. Just as I said, there's a degree you forget from the previous week, but you take some of that stuff forward to build on. Well, I think you have to do the same thing when you win. The Giants beating the Eagles. Okay, what did we do well? And what can we apply again this week? As I mentioned, there's going to be some personnel changes on both sides. So how can we adapt? How can we, the things we did well that maybe fit players A, B, C, and D, well, we don't have them now. So what can we do to compensate? So, it works both ways. You can't, in my opinion, you can't totally flush a game and say, that's it, we're starting from scratch. I don't think any team really believes that or really does that. So, they've got to take the best out of that and say, look, we beat the defending Super Bowl champions and we beat them soundly. We can do it again. So the confidence has to be up there, taking the best parts of those games. That's got to be up there. It's the old Vince Lombardi, I'm going to keep doing it to you until you figure out how to stop me philosophy. And that's what I think the Giants need to have as they go into Philly this weekend.
Mark?
Whenever you play a team, especially a team that knows you're in the same flipping division, they know everything you're going to do. So you're not going to trick anyone. It's going to come down to, can our 11 beat your 11 on both sides of the ball? And then it's going to come down to, will the coach make the right call at a particular time? A coach is going to win you 3 games, and a coach is going to lose you 3 games. That's how it is. It just works out that way. As far as plays, what worked in the first game, whether it was this year, last year, whatever, if you had success this year, and let's say you ran the play, it worked well going to the right, and you had great success, what are you going to do next time? Well, you're going to flip the same play and make it go to the left side. You're going to try to find matchup problems. That's what you do. So you're not going to trick anybody. It's not going to be, any kind of tomfoolery. It's going to be, can my 11 beat your 11 on a consistent basis? And will my coach outcoach your coach in certain situations? Will he manage the clock properly? Will we go for a field goal or not go for a field goal? Will they do an onside? Whatever. That's what's going to come down to. And if your 11 can beat the other team's 11 on a consistent basis, that team is going to win. Full stop.
It's interesting because it's been, as we all know, an incredible roller coaster, considering where we were against Washington and Dallas, then considering where we were after the first Philly game, then considering where we were after Denver. It's really hard, Patricia, to know which Giant team is going to show up.
Exactly. This is what I talked about before. Consistency has been lacking. The talent is there. The coaching is there. The schemes will work, with some smart maneuvering and whatnot. But you never know what you're going to get from week to week. This is like a box of chocolates with this Giant team. What are you going to get this week? Are you going to get the nougat or are you going to get the chocolate-covered cherry? You can tell I like chocolate-covered cherries and I hate nougat. But yeah, that's the biggest problem with the Giants. And I think if you're a player and you say, okay, what are we going to get this week? I can't help but wonder if maybe that starts to play on guys, mentality or their demeanor. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give it my all, but am I going to do it for nothing because something's going to happen or somebody's going to make a mistake or the coaches are going to, make a questionable call? I got to think that after a while, and Mark, I know you haven't played on very many losing seasons, but I would think that would wear on somebody after a while, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It does. When you don't have consistency in your coaching, as far as play calling, you don't have anything. There's no belief in them. I went to that situation once. That was under Ray Hanley when he brought in Rod Russ as defensive coordinator, and that didn't work out very well. And we had great flipping players still on that 91-92 Giants team. It just didn't work out because all the players who were there, we won Super Bowls, and Rod Russ comes from New England from a 1-15 team. I said, wait a minute, dude. What you're saying and teaching us does not resonate with us. We don't understand that. So when you lose that you might as well just check out. It's not going to work. So, but the Giants they got a good formula. They got players who can make it happen. Got to be consistent, and you still got to believe in your defensive coordinator, even though sometimes he gets a little lost sometimes, but it takes the players on the field to go talk to him, like Lawrence, Carl, Harry, Jim Burke, myself, Everson Walls, could go talk to Bill Belichick and goes, hey, coach, let's do this time if it comes up again. I don't know if they do that with this defense coordinator. I haven't seen it on the sideline, but we did that when I played. If they have that kind of relationship to make suggestions, to make a call that this time if it happens again, cool. But until I see that, then they're going to be where they are.
All right, we got 15 minutes left on the show. One last break to get to, and then, of course, we'll do Mark's favorite segment, the predictions and the lines, because we know how much Mark loves it. All righty, let us tell you all about Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety picks and awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every single model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, we are back. Final segment of the show. It's gone by quickly, and we'll tell you that once again, Mark, the Giants are 7-point underdogs. It seems like that's a weekly occurrence, but again, Vegas still not believing in the Giants.
Well, probably for good reason. So, you remember back in the day, and I'm not a gambling person. Once again, you guys know that. The spread was always 3 points, right? Oh, it's always 3 because home field gets to be 7. I don't understand that stuff. Anyway, unless they know something I don't know, we don't know, I don't know. But here's my deal. I think the Giants will not lose by 7 points, but I think they'll win by 3.
How about it? Patricia, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm done. That's all I got. That's it for me.
For what it's worth, I think they happen to keep it close. Hopefully they keep it close, but I just have a feeling I'm tending towards leaning to taking the points, Patricia.
I'll start off by saying I've never understood gambling and point spreads and how Vegas comes up with all that stuff. I go by, okay, what do I know to be true? And what I know to be true right now is the Giants' defensive secondary against those receivers is a big concern. Those receivers of the Eagles are coming off a huge game. So that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the kicker. Is the kicker going to make it through the game if he is activated? I'm concerned about the clock management that has left me scratching my head on more than one occasion this season, especially last week. Those are the things I'm concerned about. And it goes back to what I said before about not knowing what you're going to get from week to week with this Giant team. So that being said, call me from the state of Missouri, but I need to see it. Show me consistency. Give me a reason to believe that, what we saw last week was a fluke. What we saw against New Orleans was a fluke. And what we actually saw against, the Eagles the first time, what we actually saw against the Chargers, that's the real Giants. That's what I want to see. I don't care about the point spread. Right now, I can't confidently sit here and tell people, yep, pick the Giants, no problem, because I don't know what they're going to get. I know what is and what's got me concerned, and I don't know if they have the answers or if they have the right answers.
It's interesting because I think that you're right on the money. That being said, I didn't think they had a chance against Philly the first time. I didn't think they had a chance against the Broncos, and for 3 quarters, they were great. So, again, it's like I think all those things make sense. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, God. And it's just because I guess we're programmed because of the recent losing of the Giants, Mark.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But when you take in its totality, right, you go, I know it's a little far-fetched, but you take last year's Giants team compared to this year's Giants team. Last year's team, even though they're familiar with each other, you knew that last year's team sucked. This year's team, you go, you know what? They got some fight in them. They got a lot of dog in them. Sometimes you don't know it's going to be a Great Dane or a Chihuahua, but they got some fight. So that's why I'm going, you know what? This is a whole different Giants offense, Giants team. So you got to give them more than a slugger's chance, especially since you beat them 2 weeks ago. And though the Eagles receivers had a great game against the Vikings, to me, suspect secondary as well. You put that with the Eagles receivers played against compared to the Giants receivers playing against the number 1 defense in Denver and scored 30-some points. It's almost a wash, right? So you bring in the familiarity part, and the Giants team right now, they got a lot of fights still left in them. And that's why I'll compare this Giants team, so I'm taking the Giants to win, compared to last year's Giants team, which was awful. So I'm taking the Giants to win by 3. It'll be that close. Maybe hope they win by more, but I think the Giants by 3.
Patricia, it's interesting because not only is this a division game, but this stretch over the next 6 weeks or so, all NFC teams, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Chicago, Green Bay, and Detroit, all that's basically through Thanksgiving into December, a hugely important section of the schedule against all NFC teams.
Right. I mean, if this team is going to make a move for a postseason spot, they got to win these games.
Yeah.
They got to win all of them. Don't get me wrong. But in order of priority, the division games first, and then your conference games second. And, like Mark said, I don't believe this team is as bad as it was last year. Last year's team was just a mess. This year's team has talent. They have shown that they can stand toe-to-toe with teams that were in the postseason last year. So it's not like they haven't done it. It's just the consistency has been the problem. So if they can figure that question out and get on this streak, they have yet to win back-to-back games since 2023. They got to start doing that. Put one foot in front of the other and start moving forward instead of taking one step forward and 10 steps back.
Really difficult spot here for Brian Daboll, Mark. I've got to imagine that if we're talking about it, he's talking about it, and it's his job to get the good Giants to show up, not the bad Giants.
Oh, absolutely. And this gauntlet of NFC teams, this is where it counts. This whole stretch. You want to make the playoffs, you better win conference games. You gotta win them. I know AFC losses, it's an AFC loss, but a win, win or lose. But this stretch right here, starting Sunday, you got to start winning because that's where it really counts. And it shows where you really are and where you really where you want to get to. And we'll see this Sunday if they can start it with the Eagles, see how they look. They get a win, great. then on to the next game, San Fran, then on the next to the Bears or whatever. It's on down that line. Because it sounds crazy. They all count. It's going to sound stupid, but these really, really count. The NFC games.
Really interesting stuff. And again, the last time the Giants swept the Eagles was 2007. The last win in Philadelphia, as we said, October 27th, 2013. All right. So if everything goes right and the Giants win, Patricia, give me one thing that you think would have happened, be it turnovers, hopefully not injuries, but if the Giants win, what went right?
I'm going to say they control those receivers, that passing game, because again, that is my biggest concern. People will say, well, what about, stopping the run? And we all hear it, you got to stop the run. And then if you do that, you force them into a pass. So I just think the defense needs to take control of this game. They've got to, keep Saquon Barkley in this slump that he's in. And more importantly, the back end of the defense has to do its thing, hold the coverage long enough so that the pass rush, which is the strength of this team, can get home and do its thing.
Mark?
I think the big thing that have to happen for the Giants to win, I think they would want Saquon to run. And I'll tell you why. Since the Eagles have such a strong passing game by throwing the ball to A.J. Brown and Smith, Saquon, if he runs the ball, it keeps the clock moving, and the Giants got to score points as well. But it keeps the clock running. I think they're going to try to feed Saquon to get him back on the groove, back in the groove of being part of the offense. I don't think Philly wants to be a passing team. I don't think they want to do that. They want to feature Saquon as much as possible. Let him run the ball. If I was the Giants, okay, cool, run the ball. We'll keep the clock. You'll get your yards. We're going to stop the run, but we want you to feed Saquon at least 25 to 30 times a game. If they do that, I think the Giants win and try to force Philly to throw the ball late, because people still rather have Jalen Hurts throw the ball instead of Saquon run the ball. I'm the same way. Hey, okay, you beat us throwing, cool. Beat us throwing. Let Saquon run the ball. Stop him. I think they do that, the Giants win the game.
All right, final word to Patricia. Your thoughts, big picture, as the Giants head into a second matchup with the Eagles in 3 weeks.
Just win, baby. Just win. Sorry, with all the, borrowing Al Davis's famous line. I mean, look, if you beat the Eagles, and especially if it's mentioned that, hey, this team, we haven't won, Giants, you haven't won in Philly since 2013. We haven't swept the Eagles since 2007. Just win. This would be a huge win, because you also have the added benefit of, hey, we just beat the defending Super Bowl champions twice. Do you realize what that could potentially do to the morale in the locker room? I think it could really help them and maybe get over this hump that they seem to be struggling to get over, which is finding consistency week in and week out.
All right, terrific stuff. And obviously, we'll be with you immediately following the game on Sunday, hopefully after a win. Great stuff from Mark and Patricia and myself. Once again, this is the New York Giants Squad Show. We enjoyed having you. We'll see you on Sunday. Have a great day.